Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
30 seconds. When you start on time.
I am.
Okay, so you have to start on time. You can announce it.
You play the jeopardy music.
Why does everybody know that?
How anybody knows this, my hat has 3 corners on. I don't
Are you mute? Did you grow up in a barn?
Now you're late.
Yeah, I'm
You're
late. Let's gather our mantra as we usually do, please. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them here with us. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning that that is possible. We're getting glimpses into how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow your wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And that intention even into a determination if you feel you're ready. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they're so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Nirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. All right, so Natty helped me find a video of a demonstration of what's called cymatics with a cymatics, and it's a demonstration of how sound influences matter. And so I want to play it because next up in the sutra is about the mantra. And there's a connection between what you're going to see on the video and what I'm trying to describe about how the mantra does anything. And then that's the how. And then we're also going to talk about the why of the mantra, because of course all this other stuff is meaningless until we understand that. But so I'd like everybody to get to see this demonstration of sound affecting matter.
I would, because we only have the sound, I can only turn my computer that direction you can see, and Rachna could come with her computer to that. It will be a bit one blast,
Or maybe gather
or
around.
maybe, yeah, and we can also send you the link so you can watch it, but we only have the small screens.
That's all right.
Yeah,
That's all right.
So I don't have a YouTube link. You only sent me a search result.
I sent you a search result.
You just sent me a search.
Yeah,
Which one?
How about
cymatics.
This first one?
This is the link, Nettie, I got from you a link. Yeah, so amazing resonance experiment, right? No, we have a different one. Okay. Send me the YouTube link, please, again. So because we have different YouTubes. Maybe just send it in the Telegram.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
we have the video and the sound to connect you.
Yes, that's a good idea. Let me send it to Telegram. I have one just a different shot of weird that you have a different one. Okay, so please send a direct YouTube link from the video.
So again, it's a search.
Oh, okay. How do I share?
Have you turned on our? I can turn my
Chinese?
computer, so.
We need the direct link.
Okay,
That's the
here.
first, yeah, so. And then we yeah, but this one I have also, but she doesn't get it one.
Even in the.
Somehow
Okay.
Yeah, because it's opened directly to YouTube from this link. I have the same link video and it opened directly this video.
Okay, how about this one? I just sent a YouTube link, maybe.
Sorry, everyone.
Sorry.
So we will have Spanish advertisement first. No, and this is a different one. Okay, so.
We could send it to everybody and you can all watch it on
Yes,
your own
yes,
phones.
yes.
Yeah, I have the same one Joanna has now.
You have?
Yeah, it is this quote by Nikola Tesla.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to share.
No. Alright, you have the sound. I'll keep on mute.
No, you have to go there.
I go there, okay, I'll go there.
So this folks sees mine.
But wait, I need my
Your
sound,
folks sees you, but
I
take
need
the
this-
bottom down.
I need the sound to
Sing
sing.
first, what's on second?
You can put on yours, yeah.
Tell me when I play at the same time.
Moment, I need to share first with our audience.
Everybody's seen it already. by now.
Interesting. Oh,
So when you hit
Bear
play,
with us.
so when you're gonna hit play, do 3, 2, 1, play. And I'll hit play on 3, 2, 1,
okay,
play.
so. 3, 2, 1, play. My system resources are not enough.
Another minute and a half to go. There's still another minute and a half.
That doesn't. Get the vibe.
Was it clear what was it, the experiment?
Yes.
No one hears you.
The sound, the sound underneath the plate was changing. And as the sound vibrates, the matter above an undifferentiated sand takes a shape. And you change direction and the shape changes. Yes,
There's also experiment where they put a special sound, hard rock or sacrified sound. Then with the good sound, there's a heart or something, and otherwise it's very bad
Right,
picture.
right. So Tina points out there's another experiment that shows that if they use music that's harsh, heavy metal, they did it with water, if I recall, that one.
Yeah.
It's just chaos. But you play music, Bach, right? And it makes these beautiful shapes, right? As we saw. There's another one that I've seen that I've never been able to find again, where the way that tones are moving, it makes the sand look like it's a caterpillar walking along. There's actually movement happening. It's extraordinary. The reason I wanted to show you that is that as we are speaking, we are doing that
Yeah.
into the raw data of our world. And then there's chaos, kind of. And then there are other sounds and conversations that make beautiful shapes. And so we're going to be getting into the sacred words, excuse me, I did it again. The mantra practice of the Heart Sutra. Mantra practice, many of you do Medicine Buddha. There's a mantra practice in Medicine Buddha. And we've been learning that there's nothing in the words that does anything without some other factor involved. And this is part of that other factor involved. And thank you for pointing out the chaos versus beauty, because that's a key part of it, right? One can use a mantra practice to create chaos. We're not going to do that, obviously. But this visual for me, like I had seen that back in the 1980s, and I knew it was something really, really, really important, but I had no idea what. And then long time later, it's like, I remember those cymatics. Do you remember me saying that? And
You're watching.
we saw it on TV from public broadcasting station. And we dug it up, and it's like, oh, this explains so much about the subtle body and what you do with mantra, and how you transform your world from chaos to paradise. So I wanted you to see it, right? So we've seen it. So now let's contribute to the beauty of the world by reciting our Heart Sutra. I like to think of it's like the French horn. The original one we saw was there a plate of sand, and they played a French horn, you know, A, B, D flat, and the sand would do this thing, right? But they actually had the French horn being played, and it was just so extraordinary. So it's like we're being the French horn with our Heart Sutra.
Is there a difference now in which language you will tell it, as in German or Tibetan or English? Is
Right.
there
Yes,
a language higher, more energized?
yes, yes. So Sanskrit would be the most highly energized. It's a good way of saying it, because of something about our subtle body and the connection with the Sanskrit syllables, and it's a long story. I can't really go into it. So the most direct effect that we can have on our outer world is through Sanskrit sounds and words. And then second powerfulness would be, in my experience, one's native language, right? Because the meaning, right, is so much more heartfelt than when it's another language. And then, you know, after that, it would be your second close language, but mainly it would be in your own language. So it would be the second most powerful, short of the Sanskrit. Okay. All right, so let's add to the vibe of the universe. Which, if you have your own language, Heart Sutra, you're welcome to say it in that, even as we're doing English. Ready? The exalted one, the Lady of Conquest, the Heart Sutra on the heart of the perfection of wisdom. I bow first to all enlightened beings and to every warrior saint. Once I heard this teaching. The conqueror was staying on Vulture's Peak in the keep of the king. With him was a great gathering of monks and a great gathering of warrior saints. At a certain moment, the conqueror went into deep meditation on the part of the teachings known as the awareness of the profound. At that moment, too, did the realized being, the great warrior, the Lord of power, loving eyes, see into this one deep practice, the practice of the perfection of wisdom. And he saw perfectly that the five peaks, the five parts of a person, were empty of any nature of their own. Then, by the power of the enlightened one, the junior monk named Shariputra turned and asked this question of the great warrior, loving eyes, the realized one, the Lord of power. If any son or daughter of noble family hope to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom, what would they have to do? This then is the answer that the Lord of power, the realized one, the great warrior, loving eyes, gave to the junior monk named Shariputra. Here, Shariputra is what any son or daughter of noble family should see, who hopes to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom. See first, all five peaks, all five parts of a person are free of any essence of their own. Your body is empty. Emptiness is your body. Emptiness is nothing but your body. And your body is nothing but emptiness. The same is true of your feelings, your ability to discriminate between things, the other factors that make you up, and all the different kinds of awareness that you possess. All of them are empty. And thus we can say, Shariputra, that every existing thing is emptiness. Nothing has any characteristic of its own. Nothing ever begins, nothing ever ends, nothing is ever impure, nothing ever becomes pure, nothing ever gets less, and nothing ever becomes more. And thus we can say, Shariputra, that with emptiness there is no body, there are no feelings, there is no ability to discriminate, there are none of the other factors that make you up, and there is no awareness. There are no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, nothing to see, nothing to hear, nothing to smell, nothing to taste, nothing to touch, and nothing to think of. There is no part of you that sees. There is no part of you that is aware of what you see. And this is true all the way to the part of you that thinks, and the part of you that is aware that you are thinking. There is no misunderstanding your world. There is no stopping this misunderstanding. And the same is true all the way up to your old age and death, and to stopping your old age and death. There is no suffering. There is no source of this suffering. There is no stopping this suffering. There is no path to stopping this suffering. There is no knowledge. There is nothing to reach, and there is nothing not to reach. Thus it is, Shariputra, that warrior saints have nothing to reach. And because of this, they are able to practice the perfection of wisdom and stay in this perfection of wisdom. This frees them from every obstacle in their minds. This frees them from all fears. They go beyond all wrong ways of thinking and reach to the ultimate end of nirvana. All the enlightened beings of the past, the present, and the future too follow the same perfection of wisdom, and thus bring themselves to perfect enlightenment, to the matchless state of a totally enlightened Buddha. Thus are they the sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, the sacred words of great knowledge, sacred words of the unsurpassable, sacred words that are equal to the one beyond all equal, sacred words that put a final end to every form of pain, Sacred words you should know are true, for false they cannot be. Sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, which here I speak for you. Taya ta gate parasam gate bodhiswaha. And thus it is, Shariputra, that great warrior saints must train themselves in the profound perfection of wisdom. With this, the conqueror stirred himself from his deep state of meditation. He turned to the great warrior, the realized one, loving eyes, the Lord of power, and blessed his words, saying, true, true, he said, and true again. Thus it is, O son of noble family, and thus is it. One should follow the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have taught it. Every one of those gone thus rejoice in your words as I do. And when the conqueror had spoken thus, the junior monk Shariputra took joy, and the warrior, the realized one, loving eyes, the Lord of power, took joy as well. And all the assembled disciples took joy, and so did the entire world with its gods and its men and near gods and spirits to take joy, all saying their praises of what the conqueror has spoken. Yeah. Did I get mixed up again? Huh? Okay, so we are on to in the Tibetan, the bottom of page 8. We just finished that phrase that said, all enlightened beings follow this same perfection of wisdom and bring themselves to perfect enlightenment, to the matchless state of a totally enlightened Buddha. All those Buddhas of the past, present, and future. We'll go through these 5 realizations in their transformation from suffering being to fully enlightened being. So the next in the Tibetan, it says Detawana, which means thus. Sherab ki paro tu chimpe nak. Rikpa chimpe nak. Lana mepe nak. The word nak, N-G-A-K, nak, means sacred words. Mantra. Mantra, that in Sanskrit means mind protection. In a superficial sense, they would teach us to say mantra to keep our minds from, wandering off into worldly things. You keep your mind on your mantra. Your mantra has been granted to you by your Lama, and you're given the instructions to say the mantra for these purposes. And maybe even they say, come back to me after you've recited 1,000,000 of them. And then, our focus of attention is to say our mantra. And I don't know if anyone's ever used a mantra. It doesn't take long before your mantra's poured out of your mouth and you're still thinking about all this other stuff. And that's not protecting your mind with mantra. But the idea is that these particular words are given to us to help protect our mind. But come on, what's in a word that can protect our mind? There is blank in nature as anything else. So, why doesn't the teacher just say, oh, go hug a tree? Repeat that 50 million times and you'll get enlightened. And say, okay, go hug a tree, go hug a tree, go hug a tree. Would it work? It might. right?
If you have-
It might, if you have the seeds, it'll work. But no, that's not mantra. This is mantra. Mantras are special. They have to have been originally said by an enlightened being and then passed down through, holy beings down to the unholy being, the student. And we receive them. Oh, thank you for giving me the mantra. And as long as me, the unholy being using the mantra, is working hard on being more kind, right? Keeping my vows, then that mantra that I'm given can have all kinds of amazing powers to it. And it seems like, wow, when I say the mantra, car's not starting, mantra, it starts up. And it's like, well, see, mantra works. But how and the why, right? Remember the how and the why. So there are these conditions that makes a word into a mantra. And one of those conditions is that from our side, we see it, hear it, understand it, to have been words that were given to us intentionally from a holy being. And they're given to us, we receive them with this high, powerful intention to use them to help stop the suffering of the world, right? And bring everybody to their freedom from suffering. So the intention behind using the mantra, as long as we have the karmic goodness that can ripen from the use of that mantra, when we have those factors all together, we can be the French horn under the sand that makes the beautiful figure. If we don't have pure motivation, if we're using the mantras improperly, like there are curses, you can make a mantra that hurts somebody. It's gonna make the ugly thing. Yeah. I don't think that with pure intention and given words come down through the lineage, that we can inadvertently make ugly sounds out of the mantra we've been given. We can probably inadvertently make, not nothing, no particular design, but not ugly by the use of our mantra. Or we can use it very carefully to make a beautiful design. Are you following me? So this section of the sutra is pointing out these good qualities of the mantra that makes it sound like the good qualities are in the words, but they aren't in the words except by way of our seeds ripening, putting them into the words. And so they can be in the words. And then the words that they give us, the tayata gate gate paragate, are a summary of the whole sutra. And the whole sutra is a summary of the 5 paths. So the mantra is a summary of the 5 paths. Right? So the Tibetan is de tawa na. But that's, and so, or thus, Sher Kiparo to Chimpe. Do you remember that? Perfection of wisdom. Nak. These are the sacred words of the perfection of wisdom. Rikpa Chempe Nak. Rikpa means knowledge. Rikpa Chempe, great knowledge. These are the words of great knowledge. What great knowledge? The knowledge of the marriage of karma and emptiness. Dependent origination means things lack their own nature. Because things lack their own nature, whatever's there has to be dependent upon the seeds ripening of the observer. Those two happen together. They are married. Rikpa Chempe Nak. The words of great knowledge. Lana Mepe Nak. Lana Mepe means unsurpassable. The sacred words of the unsurpassable. And unsurpassable is like meaning the ultimate. And the ultimate is the empty nature of things. And so these are the sacred words of the ultimate nature of all things, unsurpassable. There's nothing that could surpass these words. And yet when you get into the diamond way, these are not the mantras that you repeat for millions of times. You're giving some other words to be repeated, and they're called the ultimate. So, ultimate according to the situation. But here we are, the unsurpassable. Lana mepe nak. Mi nyampa dang nyampe nak. It means that nak, sacred words that are equal to the one beyond all equal. Nyam is equal. So nyampa dang nyampe, equal to the one beyond all equal. In the commentary, it just says, they're just the best. But when you use the word equal and the one beyond all equal, the one beyond all equal is a Buddha. And then equal means it's the same as. So when you're saying these words of the mantra, it's the Buddha there. The Buddha's there when you're saying these mantras. And then there's also that factor of when we have the word equal, there, always tag your mind to, equal wisdom, equanimity, loving everyone equally. Right? So that's in these words as well. All these little clues in the word theme that's used repeatedly in this tradition. You learn the meaning of the word over here, bring it forth here, even though it's not being pointed out at the same time. It's like correlations. Min yampa dung yampe na, the sacred words that are equal to the one beyond equal. Dunyao tamche rabtu shiwar jepe nak. What's dunyao? Suffering. Tamche. Dunyao tamche. All suffering. Rabtu shiwar jepe nak. Sacred words that put a final end to every form of pain. Tamche dunya, all suffering. These sacred words put a final end to every form of pain. Really? Next time you have a headache, recite your gates. Try it.
Better.
Or that one. All right. Midzumpe na means for false they cannot be. Wait, did I say that right? No, sorry, I messed one. Midzumpe na means sacred words you should know are true. Dempar shepar ja te, for false they cannot be. I don't think that's word for words, Roxana. But that whole phrase, Midzumpa na dempar shepar ja te, means sacred words you should know are true. For false they cannot be. That sounds a little funny, right? Something's true because it can't be false. Oh yeah, Louisa believes that. I know Louisa's mind. But it goes back to words that are said by a Buddha. And do you remember your course too about Buddha can only say truth? And because of that, and because of that, and because of that, we know Buddha is Buddha, and it's a valid perception, and that's still so confusing. But a Buddha is perceiving emptiness and dependent origination simultaneously, and all three times they are perceiving everything directly. Can they perceive something incorrectly? No. Can they hear themselves say anything incorrectly? No. So the words out of their mouth have to be true, don't they? If they came out of a Buddha's mouth false, they cannot be. So they're true. Louisa gets to cook that one. Sherab kiparu tu chimpe nak mepa. sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, which here I speak for you. Gate, Tayata, Tayata Om is how I learned it. Tayata, Gate, Pargate, Ardasangate Bodhiswaha, and that's your turn. I almost took it from you again.
Later.
Me?
No, the.
No, wait. Wait, no, you're not up yet. So sorry.
But we are already finishing the 5 parts, right?
We finished the 5 paths. Now we learn the mantra
So summarize.
that summarizes the 5 paths.
Okay.
Mm. So I want to just read from you. So it's a quote from Geshe Michael.
For you, not from
Read for you this, what Geshe Michael said about these words, particularly this phrase, these words are truth, for false they cannot be. And he says this is truth, meaning on the day that you see emptiness directly, you realize there is a separate and higher truth that exists in the world. And at that moment, you realize that this path is correct. It is really accurate. And incidentally, you understand that the content of the Buddhist books, which you know, 200,000 scriptures, are all true. Every word is true. And you don't have to believe what I say. You probably shouldn't believe it. But if you studied logic well, you would have to say, okay, he doesn't lie. He doesn't lie usually. Maybe he's telling the truth. He's talking about himself here. And I'll consider it probable.
turned it off.
That's your alarm.
I'm sorry.
I'm awake already.
It's Buddha calling directly.
Hello.
Yes, thank you.
Time to life.
For false they cannot be.
Or falsely. But on the day you see emptiness, you perceive that the content of those 200,000 holy books are all absolutely true. And then you get obsessive about saving them. They must continue in the world. They must be protected in the world. They are true. Everything in them is true. Everything described there can really happen. And then that's the meaning of this part of the mantra. And you have to try to protect it. And as a result, he developed what was at first called Asian Classics Institute Input Project, that's now called Asian Legacy Library. And it is finding and preserving those holy texts. And in the process of doing so, he developed a whole system whereby the Tibetan refugee women had a livelihood, right? Which this all started back in the 80s. And in the 80s, they had no livelihood. And they have since managed to raise their families and teach their children, who are now input operators, and pass on this legacy of being able to make a living in a country where there's still refugees, all out of this insight from Geshe Michael's 20-minute experience of seeing emptiness directly. It evolved into this whole process of not only saving the books, but contributing to the livelihood of these women. I don't know how many, I'm gonna guess 100-ish, so. And it's just blossomed since then, as you all know, right, aware of the Asian Legacy Library Project. Okay, so I just wanted to throw in that support because we see why he's so passionate about it and why he's so passionate about translating those texts. Okay, so we'll do our part. So there are categories of mantra called secret mantra. And there are categories of mantra called knowledge mantra. Both of them have categories of mantra related to the method side and the wisdom side. And so there are categories of mantra related to compassion and related to wisdom, understanding emptiness. So there are different mantras used for different purposes. Some are open mantras, some are secret mantras. The secret we receive from our personal teacher. And when we recite them at a level that nobody around us is going to hear them, but we hear them. So not just in our mind, but not publicly heard. The open mantras, we also whisper, but one can use the open mantra is sort of intentionally, over the upset cat or over the fly you've got in your jar that you're taking out. You can use your mantras to help those beings. So the Heart Sutra mantra is an open mantra, a knowledge mantra, used specifically to generate this vibe of moving through the 5 paths. Okay. The real mantra, however, and this is still a bit confusing to me. The words are not the real mantra. The real mantra is the movement of the winds and mind in the subtle body of the one who's verbalizing the mantra. So when we use a mantra, when we say a mantra, there's something going on inside the body. So we saw those images where the sound is influencing outer world. But that same thing is happening in our inner world. The sound is influencing those channels. The wind has a shape, and the shape is the Sanskrit syllables. And those Sanskrit syllables are moving. And as they move, they influence our channels. And as they move, our mind moves with them and is influenced by them and influences them. It's like this dual thing. So as we're using our mantra to help influence our outer world, it is also influencing our inner world. And we don't even have to know anything about that. And it's doing it. Okay. But they say the real mantra is the wisdom in the mind of the being who's using the mantra. So the greater extent we have in mind that emptiness dependent origination and the meaning of the mantra as we're using it, the more pure is the vibration of the sound that's coming out of our mouth. The sound is the same, but our state of mind qualifies the sound in such a way that it's gonna vibe something more beautiful than it would otherwise if our mind is just all distracted or using it, for ordinary purpose. Okay. So now you're on. Here. Right? How come you're across one?
Hmm?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, back here.
Sorry. Start back there.
That's all right. So we've got I'd like you to repeat 3 times after me. Tayata, Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhi Swaha, Tayata, Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhi Swaha. Now with feeling. Tayata, Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhi Swaha. Excellent. You can go home now. Now that brings up something that I like to say. When you're reciting, let's say, the source of all my good, or the three principal paths, the 8 verses of mind training, you can say a stanza, just say it, or you can say it with some meaning. So when you do something like this, you can say Tayata, Gate, Para, or you say Tayata, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhi Swaha. Say it with some pop. And I think it'll mean more to you. Okay, so Tayata means here's the way it is. This is the way the way it is. Then he says, Gate, Paragate. Gate is the Sanskrit word, verbal word ga, means to go. In between, he says, there apparently might have been an here at some point. Is normally a call to the Buddhists. I've never seen it with an Where did you?
I was first given it with the Tayata
Yeah.
Gate.
It's often used as a lead off on a mantra, and then ultimately incorporates the body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. So Gate means go. Where are we supposed to go? The first Gate means get going on the path of accumulation. Get on going to deciding you don't want to live like this anymore. The second Gate means get going on the path of preparation. Preparing for what? Preparing to see emptiness directly. How do you prepare? Take some good ACI courses about emptiness, about understanding emptiness. The second path is characterized by the careful study of emptiness intellectually. And I can't think of a better way of doing that than studying the ACI courses. That's me saying that. Paragate means get going to the other side. This is the para and paramita. This is the one that means other side. What? Get going on to see emptiness directly, which lays beyond the intellectual study of emptiness. So that to me would mean the path of seeing. Gate flips aside, you're tired of this life. Gate, try to understand emptiness intellectually and in classes to get ready. Paragate, get to the other side. The mantra is saying, get going on path number 1, get going on path number 2, get going on path, and get to path number 3. Parasangate means once you get to the direct perception of emptiness, don't stop there. Apply that knowledge perfectly to the destruction of your mental afflictions. What happens on path number 4? Use what you saw to get rid of your anger, your jealousy, etc. What happens after that? Bodhi Swaha. Bodhi means get to Buddhahood, path number 5. Swaha, let it be that. Boom, finished, done, complete, enlightened. So Tayata, Gate, there you go.
Me already. I heard Geshe-la once say another way of thinking of gone to the other side is that, ordinary beings are this siders, right? Stuff coming at us. And then other siders are stuff coming from us. So one way of thinking of gone to the other side is you've gone to a other sider, right? You're one who is aware that things are coming from you instead of at you. Seeing emptiness directly makes you a other sider. You're still seeing it this way, but this, but it's kind of a fun way of thinking of it. As opposed to thinking of, oh, the other side, meaning all the way to Buddhahood. Let's just get to this new perspective.
So next from here is a meditation.
Right, but I'm not gonna do that right now. 'Cause I wanna finish up the sutra.
Well, that's on my page 2.
Uh, That's still the meditation, so I think I can do a little bit before break time, and then you'll pick up,
Okay.
okay? Right, so. So English is, thus are they the sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, the sacred words of great knowledge, sacred words of the unsurpassable, sacred words that are equal to the one beyond all equal, sacred words that put a final end to every form of pain, sacred words you should know are true, for false they cannot be, sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, which here I speak for you. Next, the Tibetan says, Saripu, Changchup Sempa, Sempa Chempo, Sharab Kiparu Chimpa, Zamo La Detar Lapar Ja O. All of those words are familiar to us until we get to La Detar Lapar Ja O. So it's saying, and thus it is, Shariputra, that great warrior saints, Sempa Sempa Chempo, Changchup Sempa Sempa Chempo, Sharab Kiparu Chimpa, profound perfection of wisdom. La Detar Lapar Ja O means must train themselves in. So at this point, Avalokiteshvara is saying, all of this that I just told you, that's what you train yourself in, all of it. The path of accumulation, the path of preparation, path of seeing, path of habituation, the path of no more learning. And the way we train ourselves in that is by studying, working with, learning about the dependent origination and empty nature. The fact, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. Right? All of that we talked about before. This is what we need to do in order to gate parisangate bodhiswaha. It's like the wrap up, says Avalokiteshvara. So in the meditation that we're learning, where we have those 4 steps, the first step, just trying to just perceive the data. It's amazingly difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's worth trying to do. Not that we're ever going to rest in just the data, but for this sequence to do all that it's meant to do, you always start with trying to just be the experiencing something without our automatic identity. Just try to get the raw data, but don't spend a lot of time there. Then you go to ordinary way of seeing something. That should be easy, right? It's the ordinary way we see things, but we want to add to it the awareness of how we're seeing it as if its identity and qualities are in it. So it does take a little while to pin down, not just looking at the doorknob, but looking at the doorknob and aware that I'm so sure it's a doorknob that came from the store, and all that stuff about it, so that it doesn't take me long to put my mind into that level number 2 that I'm going to move away from. I want to be able to establish the misperception so that I can take it away. Then you go to level 3, which is establishing the dependent origination of my object of focus. And with that, I can't yet see it directly. I have to impose it intellectually. I have to think it through. Well, does everybody see that doorknob the same way as I do? Because if its identity is in it, they would have to. Do I see it the same way every single time? I think so, but technically I see that no, now I've seen it 5 times and now I've seen it 6 times, right? Something's got to be different about it and me. Somehow apply our reasoning to come to the conclusion it's got to be unique to me. That's level 3. From my projection, from my mind. It's thing, it's niceness, it's not niceness. You can go to all different kinds of levels. Then level 4 is looking for the object's emptiness. It's no nature other than what my mind is making it into. Because at first we have the thing with its own nature, and then we're going to say, no, my mind's putting my nature on it, but we're still thinking there's an it there. And I'm just coloring it in some way. And level 4, we're wanting to really rip away anything about the thing's appearance other than my projection of it, so that we get this fleeting moment of not there, that thing without my projection is not there at all. And then you can toggle back and forth between the dependent origination and nothing but, or you can go from it's in it from it and then reject that. No, it's not, and fall into level 4 from that. And the exploration of that 4-fold meditation is to go back and forth between all of these levels and see how they relate to each other. You can go from the data level to the emptiness, or the data level to the dependent origination, right? You'll work it out, and those are staying for the week. So the whole sutra, Avalokiteshvara has explained to us, is about this process of identifying our mistaken view of ourselves and our world, so that we can remove the mistaken view and perceive more directly the accurate view, the seeds ripening view, to see more directly that there's nothing that exists in any other way than that, to come to that more direct conclusion that, well, if it's my seeds ripening, how do I make those seeds? And I want to make seeds that everything that ripens will be pleasant for everybody. The sutra itself doesn't go there to say, look, your behavior is the key. That's where learning from a teacher helps us, because it's like, that's what connects the dot. Our behavior makes the imprints that comes out as the projection that makes our experience. And without that piece, it wouldn't be obvious how it would be helpful to know that things are nothing but my projection, if I don't know that the way I make those projections is by how I interact with other people. So we're so fortunate, Geshe Michael weaves those together right from the get-go. Then the teacher's responsibility is to continue to weave that, so that we don't go off half-cocked into the intellectual gobbledygook, and stay grounded in how this is going to help us be more loving when we get home. Because if we don't do that, we haven't done our job. Okay. All right.
Sorry, Lama, can you repeat the step 3? Is I do convince myself that it's coming from my seeds.
Right. Level 3 is the do what you have to do to show yourself that it has to be coming from your own seeds. I like the term unique to me. An experience is unique to me. It helps me, but only I got there after, many years of trying to explain it to myself. That's what I came up with. So don't just take it unless it's useful.
Sorry, maybe it's the same, you already say it, but just to be completely sure. The third step is to establish the dependent origination, and the fourth one is the emptiness.
Right.
That's the difference, because
Right.
it's the same, it's created by seeds, but in one we're focusing on the dependent origination, and the other one, the other side of the coin.
Correct. So,
That's-
right.
to
So
be
the
sure.
question was making it clear. Step 3 is focusing on dependent origination, what makes something appear the way it does. And 4th step is focusing on the emptiness, which is, and so there's nothing about the object that's in it from it, the emptiness of the object.
Thank you.
And really, we come to see that those two are integrally related. Right? They aren't really separate. They're not separate. Okay. Nice. Okay, now. Or Dick
No,
Collins.
well,
You want me to just go? No, you
Mm.
do. You're here.
Okay. So
They
next is Dene Chombende Chengenzen De La Sheng Te Chanchu Sempa Sempa Tempo Papa Chenrezi Wancha La Lexo Shejawe Jine Lexo. So
top of 10.
So Dene Chombende Chengenzen De La Sheng Te means the Buddha came out of his meditation. Chuni Lama says it means he pretended to come out of his meditation. He's been running the show with his 2 puppets all along. He's ready to come out of meditation at this point. Then Lord Buddha says to Avalokitesvara, Chanchu Sempa Sempa Tempo Papa Chenrezi Wangcha La Lexo Shejawe Jine Lexo. There's a big debate in the Buddhist literature and Buddhist writing, as well as in other kinds of writing. It's considered a fault of writing to say something, repeat something unnecessarily. Why does Buddha say right on, right on, right on? I mean, can't he just say it once? That's what legso means. It means right on. Perfect. You've done it perfectly. He repeats it 3 times. Here's Choni Lama's take on it. The first lexo means the teaching you've just given us is good, and I say right on. So the first one is teaching. The teaching you gave is just as good. Seja Jin means he's given his blessing to Avalokitesvara. Choni Lama says the next lexo is for emphasis. It's good, really, it's good. It makes my heart happy. I'm pleased that you've spoken like that. Choni Lama says that remember all these disciples sitting and listening to this conversation. He wants to make a strong point to all his disciples that they can trust what Avalokitesvara has said. The third one is basically saying it's as good as if I taught it myself. So first one, I'm pleased you taught it well. Second one, you really taught it well. Third one, hey, you guys, this is really good and you should follow it. You can trust it. It's as good as if I taught it myself.
Lexo.
And we have here a short prayer and that's short mantra and dedication.
Let's take a break. 10 minutes late.
Lexo.
Lexo. 10 minutes. Got asked again. It's okay, it's okay. No, but the Russian students. All right, we are on page 10, the middle of the page. We just finished with this. The conqueror stirred himself from his deep state of meditation. He turned to the great warrior, the realized one, loving as the Lord of power, and blessed his words, saying, "True, true," he said, and true again. Next comes Rikipu. Deshan no de deshan te. Jitar Kyuki tempa deshan du, Sherab ki paro tu chimpa. Zamo la chepa ja te. Deshan chekpa nam kyang jesu yirong no. Anybody know yirong? Rejoicing.
Which one?
Rejoicing.
No, but-
Yirong.
Giraffe?
Yirong. Ricky Poo. Means son of noble family. So they're saying it says, "Thus it is, O son of noble family." And thus is it. So the deshan no de deshan tu te. It's this phrase, "Thus it is," and "thus is it." We hear it in the Diamond Cutter Sutra. We hear it in other sutras where I think it's really poetic, thus it isn't, thus is it. It's like an emphasis. But it's one of those redundancies. They never do anything redundantly for no reason at all. And so Choni Lama points that out, true to form. And he says the Deshan Du De Deshan Te is saying, the Buddha is saying, you taught this right. What you said is really right. So it's not redundant because he's saying it in two different ways. And the emphasis is, of course, for the audience, again, that is reinforcing the fact that Buddha was in meditation this whole time. And these other two high-level students are carrying on this conversation that we're getting to hear. And Buddha, when he comes out of meditation, is trying to reinforce for us that this conversation between them was exactly right. The lineage says, really, Buddha was making them say all that. And, I don't quite know the significance of that necessarily, but to understand that when Buddha comes out of his meditation, he says, what those guys said, exactly right. And he says it in the Lexo, Lexo, Lexo. And he says it here again with the Deshan, De Deshan, no De Deshan Te. Thus is it, and thus it is, and thus is it. Like exclamation point. Jitar Kyuki Tempa Deshan Du Sherabki Parutu Chimpa. One should follow the profound perfection of wisdom just as they have taught it. Jitar Kyuki Tempa. Tempa is the teaching it. Zamola Chepar Jate Deshan Shakpa Nyam Kyang Jason Yirong no. Every one of those gone thus rejoices in your words as I do. Deshan Chakpa, all those gone thus. Nam Kyang Jesu Yirong no. Rejoice in your words as I do. Again, meaning, yes, right? That's right. That's great. I'm really happy that you did that. Usually when we do rejoicing practice, why do we do rejoicing practice?
To accelerate our karma.
What was that?
To accelerate our karma.
Accelerate our karma, right? To really get those seeds strongly planted, to water them, to get them to ripen, sooner, right? All those reasons to rejoice. Buddha doesn't need to do any of that.
But the audience.
Right, the audience does. And so does everybody else who has gathered there, right? They are all the audience. So again, Buddha is doing something to set the example for those of us who need to do it, but aren't smart enough to know to do it. And even when we are smart enough, it's still so hard to rejoice. Why is that?
Our karma.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about us beings here in degenerate times that we can't even be happy about the things we have to be happy about, like the good things that we do, and so
Well,
on December 17th, we're having a whole rejoicing festival just to make ourselves rejoice.
Is it called Jiran's festival?
Yirong festival, right? How do you say festival? How do you say festival? The moon, the great moon long. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know the word. Do we know it in Sanskrit? Festival in Sanskrit? I don't either. Anyway,
well, the reason we're reluctant is because it sounds prideful.
it does sound prideful. Good point.
And there's a prideful self-pride that's accepted, that's encouraged.
Right,
So it's not self-existently prideful.
right. Right. You're probably right. There probably is. Our cultural, our cultural, what is it, imposition that you're not allowed to puff yourself up. And it is a danger, but wise rejoicing puffs up properly, I guess.
No, you're rejoicing in others' goodness as much as you're rejoicing in your own.
Right,
So if you're rejoicing in somebody else's goodness, that's not prideful
right.
in the incorrect way.
But it's the same like with the mantra, that there is no power in rejoicing by itself.
Exactly. Just as
Which
there's
is
no
why
power,
it's so powerful.
which is why it's so powerful.
Back at you.
Let me cook it.
Tag, you're it.
Mm,
The general rejoicing in the handout. Just as a note for the participants, there's general rejoicing in the handout text.
we do have the.
In the handout.
Yes, we do have that, and
And that came from.
right, blah, 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 blah. That general rejoicing prayer was a private thing that I did by taking the general confession and just reversing it. And I offered it to Geshe Michael, and then I used it with my personal students. And then, you know how these things go. Suddenly it's everywhere. But I didn't put on the bottom of it,
where it
you
came
know,
from.
offered humbly by Saranhi, and any errors that are in here are my own, which should have been on there. Because now people get it and think, oh, this is lineage stuff from Saranhi, and it's not. Right? It's like,
No, it's very.
I made that, but it's
It's-
offered.
It's consistent.
It's consistent. It
It could be
was,
from Sarah May, but
it was not rejected by Geshe Michael.
wasn't approved.
It wasn't approved either,
But.
but
we
it
have-
was
we
not
have found-
rejected.
We have found if something's not rejected, it's 99%.
That's right.
It's approved.
Exactly. But I just want to tell you, as you pass it on to others, know, right, that it's a modification of what was offered us through the formal ACI, but that is not an ACI document, right? but you're welcome to it, use it.
Thank you.
Fun.
You can start putting it down.
I did this really fast. So we're at Camden Day, big.
So Chandon Day, DK, Katso Ne, Sedang, Genpa, Sherry Pudang, right?
Right, top of page 11 for all of us.
And when the conqueror had spoken thus, the junior monk Shariputra took joy. And the warrior that realized me in loving eyes took joy, the Lord of power took joy as well. Chanchib Sempa Pakpa Chenmazi Kiwanchak Dong. Temche Dong, Depe Kor, Dedak, La Dong, Mi Dong. All the assembled disciples took joy, and so did the entire world, with its gods, its near and near gods. La Mayan, Dong, Bishar, Chimpe, Chikten, Yiran, Te, Chamdende, Ki Song Pa, La, Nunpa, Judo, and the spirits too take joy. All sang the praises of what the conqueror had spoken. That's all. I have.
Okay, so in here, what we have is this list of different beings that were there at the party as this was going on. And we only heard about the great monks and the great bodhisattvas. But apparently, all the Buddhas were also there, because Buddha has said, all the Buddhas rejoice in your words as I do. So not just him, all of them. If Buddhas are omniscient, whether they were there or not, they were aware of what was going on, right? Hi. Mm. Now, they're helping. Mm. So, where is it? All the assembled disciples took joy. Sure, they're the ones there. Yay, the teaching was so great. And so did the entire world. So who's in the world? Gods. What are gods in this tradition? Those, yeah, Deva's pleasure beings. Right, so there's worldly pleasure beings, and there's the demigods, and then there's form realm beings that are also called gods. They're not part of our realm, they're a different realm. This is talking about the pleasure realm beings. So the ones that are more connected with our own desire realm, they were there. In our world, men, meaning humankind, not just men and women, near gods, which there's pleasure beings and there's jealous gods, the near gods. They're almost pleasure beings, but they're jealous of the ones that are more pleasure being than them. You know, and somehow the two of them fight. How can that be a pleasure being world if they're fighting? I don't quite get it, but they're struggling against each other. And I kind of imagine, you know, the pleasure beings are over here looking at, no, the jealous gods are over here looking at the pleasure beings and going, I really like that guy's leather jacket. Why does he have a leather jacket and I don't have a leather jacket? Yeah. And then,
And the gods are going.
and the gods are going, yeah, exactly, you know. And then they struggle about it. And I spent many hours in retreats, like trying to figure out how can my emanation, right? Because you have to do all this wonderful fantasy in retreat. How can my emanation go and interact with these jealous gods and pleasure beings and get them to get along? And finally I convinced the jealous God beings to look at somebody you're jealous of and force yourself to praise them instead. Like, come on, just do it. It took me days to get them to go along. And finally, one of them says, hey, Mr. Pleasure Being, I really like your jacket. And the pleasure being, because that shifts the karma of the jealous God so fast, the pleasure being goes, do you? Here. And it's like, all right, one down. And went to another one, right? And little by little, it's like, okay, get you guys to work on your karma together. I know it sounds ridiculous, right? But that's what you get to do in retreat. And it's like, it told me, well, that's what you're supposed, that's what you do to work with your jealousy, you know? Praise them instead. Well, you don't want to do that when you're jealous of somebody. The last thing you want to do is tell them how great they are. But karmically speaking, works for the jealous gods. Yeah, so same with the other ones. Why did I go there? The jealous gods are there who are probably jealous, but now they're rejoicing. Yay for them. And then spirits. It's kind of hard to understand what they mean by spirits, but very likely they're talking about the hungry ghost realm, you know, that can't get their needs met because found themselves experiencing a realm in which they can't get satisfied in any way, forced there by stinginess in the life they just left. And so again, to have spirits there who are, you know, craving and can't get any needs met, to hear a teaching and then go, yay, about that teaching is a really, really significant thing for the spirits. Yeah, so they must be under some kind of great spell.
I think the Nagas would be included.
Yeah, the Nagas would be in here too, probably. So they're all taking joy. And it escaped me for a really long time that every sutra at the end, almost everyone that I'm aware of, they always have this little phrase about, and everybody takes joy. And then, I don't know, I didn't hear it in any of the ACI classes about taking joy. And I didn't hear it so much in any of the Diamond Way classes either. And then at some point, karmas shift, and Geshe Michael's talking about rejoicing. And then I look back, and in our Diamond Way classes, the Lamas would always come late, like hours, 2 hours late. And then they'd spend the first 45 minutes or hour of class going through, telling us what they did during their break, what everybody else did during their break. And, you know, my get on with it attitude was always, you know, okay, great, okay,
You
great.
haven't experienced that till you sit.
You know, can we get to class, please? And then, you know, a number of years later, I'm embarrassed to admit, it's like, oh, the Lamas were making us take joy in the goodness of our co-students at the beginning of every class so that we could have enough goodness to hear what they were going to teach us. And it's like, ooh, whoops. Right? I made some really big mistakes in there. But then fast forward a number of years after retreat, and it's like rejoicing practice. It's like such a key. And they were showing it to me all along. And there it is at the end of every sutra, all along. The power of rejoicing in the goodness that's been done, not just dedicating, but rejoicing. So now it's like, I'm all over rejoicing. And at some point in retreat, we heard that one of the administrators of Diamond Mountain was struggling with such and such. And so I wrote to my friend, Venerable Upala, you know, let's meet, let's do a rejoicing practice to see if we can help so-and-so. And she goes, okay. And so, we're doing this all in writing. I rejoice and Yay. And within a few days, we heard that that situation down in the administration had just completely cleared up. And it's like, oh man. Then coming out of retreat, can I tell one more story? Coming out of retreat, we were up at Sedona, and a bunch of people were around, and Geshe-la was saying, Asian Classics Input Project is in a crisis. They need, I don't know, it was a lot of money, $100,000 to meet payroll within the next month, and we don't have it. And a lot of people there were saying, oh, I can give this much, I can give that much. And I said, wait a minute, let's do rejoicing practice. So a bunch of us gathered around and we started saying, look, Asian Classics Institute has downloaded all of that stuff and given it away for free. They've given refugee women of livelihood. We just outlined all the ways that ALL has been generous. And yay, yay, yay. And the next day, Geshe-la comes in and he says, a sponsor came forward and we have our $100,000. And again, it's like, oh, rejoicing practice. And so now it's just like burned in me. Do I do coffee meditation before I go to bed at night? No. But when there's a problem, when there's a crisis, or someone comes to me with a problem, it's like, sit down, tell me how you have helped someone in such and such a way. And be happy about it and tell me what happens. And almost always, not me, them, almost always it's like, oh, things shifted. Rejoicing practice is so powerful when we get the seeds right.
So the rejoicing practice is ripening the seeds.
That you
early.
already have, right? Seeds that you already have get ripened by remembering them, recalling them, calling them forth, and using them, right, for some benefit. The seeds that we have are already in there. We find them and we vibrate them with our rejoicing, and out they come. So when people say, how do I get my seeds to ripen faster? Right? Rejoicing practice. Not just, oh, I'm happy, but really specific. I need this to change. How have I helped somebody in that way?
And you rejoice in it with wisdom, knowing that by doing that, you're setting seeds
Right.
for your future success and whatever, or their future success.
Right.
So when you do rejoicing practice, it's like you say, it's not just, oh, I'm so happy.
Right.
It's, I'm happy that this is happening because this means in the future, I will blah, blah,
Blah,
blah,
blah,
blah.
blah, blah, blah. Right. And that said, my most successful rejoicing practice is when I'm doing it for somebody else's benefit. I actually don't think I've ever done rejoicing practice for myself. Curious.
I disagree, but
You think I have?
yeah.
Okay, good. Good for me. So all saying their praises of what the conqueror had spoken. Ta-da. Sutra complete. Yay. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. Someone said, may I ask a question? Yes.
Yes,
Yes, Rena.
if something bad is happening, rejoicing that in this moment I'm burning my bed sheets.
You sure
Does it
can do that.
helpful?
You sure can do that. Yes.
It's
Better
what
than
I-
whining and suffering.
Mhm.
Yeah. It really is a wise mindset.
It's what I was doing Wednesday when my flight was cancelled.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
Yay.
Burning bed sheets.
I know.
One
Better than a
less.
lifetime in hell. My mantra when I have another one. What else?
Exactly, and this whole Lama is saying to us, when you rejoice in that for yourself, And if you remember that the whole entire world coming from you, you're doing that for everyone.
Yeah, good
And you
point.
have to rejoice for everyone for burn that seeds.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
bigger.
Gabby pointed out that when are rejoicing for ourself, everything in our world is coming from us, so we are also rejoicing for others. And so if we're burning off negative seeds and happy about it, we're burning off those negative seeds for everybody. Not just our negative seeds, it's negativity, wherever you're taking away delay out of the world by experiencing it.
So you can affect other people's karma.
No,
Yes.
Sorry.
no. You can affect your perception of other people's karma,
Yeah.
You can.
right? Yes,
Here's an online question. I'd love to hear what Venerable Sumati came up to in his search for the answer about where do the raw data, the parts, come from? Are they there already before our labeling of them? Since I'm struggling with the same question.
No, I haven't.
Sorry for.
Well, the jigsaw puzzle, that's my latest is thinking of the data as a jigsaw puzzle that's reversed. So you don't see the picture to put together, but you have all the pieces there.
Oh,
So the data represents the upside down jigsaw puzzle pieces, which
I don't
you
know.
projected. And now it's a matter of putting them together with whatever karma is ripening. That's about where I am now.
But where the jigsaw puzzles come from?
Well, I'm dealing with that. It came from Hard Corporation World Incorporated.
that's wrong.
Cornelia has a question.
Sorry, but I can think about you can who ask can help others answer question and dedicate to this get this answer.
Ah, good job. That, the suggestion was those who are struggling with getting the answer to that question can make a greater effort to answer other people's questions and dedicate that to getting the answer to your question.
Yay.
Great answer.
We have another online question. Do other living beings exist in any way without our projections?
What do you think?
No.
So I'm the only living being? No? So I'm not a living being?
No.
No, you didn't say that? So I am a living being, but all the rest are not.
No.
Yes.
Are they or not they?
No.
They're not. They're not living beings. I'm the only one.
No.
That's how debate goes.
That is how debate goes. You keep going in circle until somebody says yes and then
And then you
explain it. Now I forgot the question.
living beings exist in any way without our projection or perception.
What living beings would those be?
Self-existent.
Gotcha.
Gotchas, right? Self-existent living beings.
Right.
And so they would be a being, a self-existent being, would it be a being that everyone perceives in exactly the same way because there are being them independent of any other factor? Is there such a thing as anything that exists independent of any other factor?
No.
What about independent of the factor of your experience of them?
Yeah.
Right. Aren't there things that I know nothing about
Yes,
that exist?
for others.
Right, for others, but that doesn't make it exist for me.
But that's the question that you have.
We were just discussing about, let's say, about my house. So when I leave the house, I'm here for the retreat, and I'm not perceiving the house.
Right,
So is the house there or not?
right. So is your house still there when you're not there perceiving it?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes,
you have a
the
perception of your house in your mind right now.
Yeah.
It's not a direct perception, but it is a perception that, given the fact that I have not heard that my house has floated away or been exploded or gone, then I have in my mind that my house is still an existing thing. And so as a thought in your mind, a memory, an idea, a picture, your house exists. Okay,
And
you're thinking, my house exists over there on that block at that place, and that thinking is valid thinking for you. Can you really establish that it's there? No, not until you get there. And even when you get there and you say, see, there it is still nothing but an image in your mind.
and in your case, you're having the direct perception of emptiness of your house.
What?
It was a joke.
Oh.
Now,
Joke
there's
about
many of my
emptiness.
jokes. So self-humor.
But if he calls a neighbor
Yes,
and the neighbor and say, is my house still there?
right?
No, you
In that
don't,
moment, he is having a valid perception, indirect valid perception through the neighbor.
Yes, correct. A different one than his thinking of his house.
so do
But
not,
let's be more extreme, like we are going to empty this room in
Yes.
2 minutes.
Mhm.
When we all go out, like, we are not sure
Right,
that the room is going to be here
exactly.
for the class tomorrow.
That is correct. That is correct. And if we really lived like that, when we got back here and the room is here, we'd go, wow. The room is here.
And we are excellent.
But it's also scary.
Yes.
Like, is my husband and my daughter going to be there?
But that's
now,
true.
if the nuns perceive this room as still being here, and we don't, is the room still here?
Again, for them, yes.
I didn't hear that. one.
If the nuns perceive this room to be here, is it still here for us?
If we ask them,
If then,
but if we don't have communication to them, then it's two different realities. I don't know what they are
Right.
perceiving.
Right,
I love this kind of things.
so the things we don't perceive are not existing for us. For us. That's the thing. I mean, the other realms that are coexisting. If we don't have that direct experience or a thought that is valid.
Okay, so yeah, clarify what you mean by things we don't perceive. Perceive directly, like I'm standing right there looking at it,
Yeah.
or perceive by way of memory or of thought or imagination.
Imagination, because other realms for me are just imagination.
Exactly, imagination, but you've heard of them, right?
Yeah.
So you have one of, what is that called, a drachi
Rashi.
of the other realms. So that when someone says hungry ghost,
Yeah.
you have a drachi, you have a mental image of something you've heard about but never seen directly.
Okay, and that's a valid perception?
And that's a valid perception
Okay.
of a drachi,
Oh,
something you've heard about.
okay, yeah, now I forgot. It's ACI 4 or something.
Yeah, and 13.
and
Right.
15.
But about the nuns. If we know them, that they are thinking, then it's our perception that they.
Right? If we're aware of what they're thinking, it's our perception.
But we are not aware of that.
Well,
I'm
here's
not aware.
another way of looking at it. You get to your room's there. And that means it's still part of a building. And that building has this room in it. So you can infer the fact that your corridor is full of intact rooms, that there is indeed this room here.
And that's a mental image of something you've seen before but are not seeing right now.
Right.
But
doesn't
you cannot be sure
establish-
that you open the door and there
Right.
is the corridor there.
Right. Until you get there,
And open the
it's
door.
not, right?
Well, once you shut the door, you gotta open it too. Before you go to bed. It's like the refrigerator. It's like knowing the light is turned off in your refrigerator.
But this is the Schrodinger
But
theory.
yeah, the cat.
Because
what do they call it, Schrodinger's cat?
Schrödinger's cat.
Schrödinger.
I would argue it's not scary though, Louisa, right? Because if it was there, then how would it ever turn into a Buddha paradise if it's not already a paradise?
Right.
Because it might not be, that means at any moment it could be perceived as a Buddha paradise. Then it's like super awesome, not scary.
Right.
But it could be also a head ramp.
Yeah.
So-
So what if it's a paradise?
You have the chance.
So we have one question that fits to this house and is it existent or not? And then another one, so maybe first the one, with the house example, I might have the memory of it existing while it actually has been destroyed without me knowing yet. At that moment, does my house exist or not?
Right. The one that exists is the one in your memory.
Yeah.
And that's.
And until you get to the place of
And
the
have
house,
a direct perception of seeing it destroyed.
right? It hasn't been destroyed until you become aware that it's been destroyed.
And it doesn't take you being there, it could be someone calling you.
Somebody could tell you.
And I could think it's destroyed, come there and then perceive it as actually not destroyed.
Exactly.
Ja, het kan ook zijn.
Okay. We have another question. When we sleep, our awareness of the physical world is switched off. How can we establish its existence then?
I don't agree with it switched off.
Maybe it's a language thing,
No, okay.
but I think it's more like we are not aware.
Are they asking how we establish that we're in deep sleep? Or how do we establish that the world is still there,
The
even
second
though
one.
we're sleeping?
There's a second one.
In a second.
You wake up.
So while you sleep, there's nothing.
That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
But don't make light of it. It's, I don't know that I have an answer for them.
Well,
Because actually, your awareness is detecting your outer world. You're not, it's like there's how can I put this? I don't know if we can call it a main awareness, but your hearing and your tactile sensations recording the fact that you're in your bed under your sheets and you're hearing the heater come on. So you are aware of the outside world in I can't get the word. No,
well, I don't agree. My own experience of sleep is waking up. And there appears to be a time gap. You know, it was 11 o'clock and now it's 6 a.m. and I don't have anything in between. I mean, typically I don't remember my dreams even. And so I would not be able to establish whether my awareness was having any awareness other than what we're calling deep sleep, when it's just like blank. And couldn't that be used as an approximation of seeing emptiness directly if you could deep sleep consciously? But that's an oxymoron. It wouldn't be deep
I
sleep.
have a question to that one. If you're sleeping and then, for example, you kind of get in your sleep aware that you need to go to toilet
Mhm.
and
That
you
makes-
wake up from that.
Right.
So there is some kind of awareness of the physical
yeah,
so
that's a good point.
thing
Right,
that makes you
right.
Come
That's
out of
because
sleep.
in your dream, you're being inundated by water
Seeds ripen,
and you wake up.
yeah.
it's not
You're right, seeds.
No, but
But really that is, you know, that any moment, it's seeds ripening, seeds ripening, seeds ripening. Now they're ripening deep sleep. Now they're ripening, gotta go. Now they're ripening going. Now they're ripening going back to bed. Now they're ripening, now they're ripening, now they're ripening, now they're ripening. So if they're ripening me awake in an outer world, that's my experience. If they're ripening me asleep, unaware of anything, then that's existence at the time. And there's just the process happening.
I think that, I don't have the words to describe it, but I think there is an awareness of your physical environment that you're sensing, but you're asleep. That's just personally.
But don't I have, during I'm sleeping and if I'm dreaming, don't I have a lot of drudges in my mind? And when I wake up, it's dungeons of my physical world. So the one is the mental image in the mind that I have when I'm dreaming. Then I see house, street, people, cats, flying
Well,
horses.
Right, but are they things you've seen before or things you've only heard about before? A drachi is the mental image of something you've only heard about before. And
Never.
what's the other one?
Dunji,
Dunji
it's a direct experience.
is mental images of things that you had an experience of before, have seen before.
Or I think it's
So-
both.
Dreams,
Don't count.
I don't know, dreams. You could have an appearance in your dream of something you've only heard of.
Yeah.
But now then, you're experiencing it directly in your dream. So now it's a dinchi. The first time you see it, a drachi, the second time you see it, a dinchi. I don't know, I'm just like
Yeah.
freewheeling here. I'm not sure, that what happens in dreams is still karma ripening as dreams.
We are
And we're planting seeds
in
as dreams.
Yeah.
It's movement of the mind.
But we
Right.
are planting seeds in dreams as well. That's
Right.
why we try
In
to
dreams
do
as
it.
dreams, right,
Yeah, so it's not only a ripening, we are also with our dreams, we are planting
Planting.
seeds.
right. Right,
But coming back to the original question from the person online
about the house?
about the house, I
Yeah.
think it goes into the same line, like what Raj
Like
was
that,
saying, like you close your eyes or I go out of the room, is the room still existing? Is this attachment that we have that the house was built with real concrete and bricks, and so it should be there.
Right,
It cannot just poof because I'm not aware of it. I think it's in those lines what the person is trying to express.
right, right. Does the house poof because you turn your back on it?
Yeah.
And it actually is a really valid debate to work that through. Because I would hold that highest world view would say, of course it's not there for you. And of course it's back as soon as you turn around. Of course it's blinking in and out like that. Because it's nothing but your own projections. And it's like, it's not, whoa, that's freaky, man. It's like, oh yeah, duh. When we're at that level, I'm not.
You could have the karma to project your house is still there.
We do, we do. We all
So-
have the karma of projecting our house is still there, don't we? Except somebody whose house just flooded.
But we were talking about it not being there
Right.
because you're not there to see it. No,
But the real answer is, which house would that be that we're talking about?
The one in our world.
Right, the self-existent one. Is the one we're worried about. Which house is it?
The non-existent.
The non-existent, self-existent house we think is there?
Yeah.
What happens to it? When we go away?
Nothing because it doesn't exist. anyway.
Exactly, nothing, because it doesn't exist anyway.
got you.
Thank you. So you don't have a house, don't worry about it. Not true. Of course you have a house and of course it's already there. It's still there, but not self-existently, not the way we think that makes us think this is a conundrum, which is why it's such a conundrum.
We're going to dream with houses.
Got it?
If I could add, I don't know how to formulate a question around this, but I'm a fan of rejoicing.
Yay.
And in talking with all the wonderful people here, there are many people who also enjoy rejoicing, but when the good thing happens, they're like, oh, I'm sure that wasn't related to the rejoicing. I'm sure that would have happened anyway.
Oh,
And so I don't know if there's there's a question in there about like, how do we not dismiss the good thing as not a result of rejoicing?
Was that loud enough that they could hear? No. How do we, okay, so the statement or question was, when we rejoice and we get a good thing, and a good thing does happen, our tendency is to discount that the goodness happening had anything to do with our rejoicing practice. And why do we do that? And why do we do that? Why do you think? Is it
No.
disbelief, doubt?
Yes.
Is it, doubt in myself? Couldn't possibly do that.
Is it in doubt of karma?
Is it a doubt in the system? Yes.
See, I heard something here. Maybe it's a fear to see myself as a Buddha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe it's the
and I
fear of
don't want to
success.
grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, maybe we don't want to admit our own power because it means we need to make changes, right? Because of the change it's inevitably gonna bring. Which leads back to a kind of doubt, which is, I say I want to reach my Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, but don't make me move from Tucson. Right, we put conditions, don't we?
Or other people is saying, don't make me responsible for everything.
Right,
For
right,
others. I
right,
don't want to be responsible for
Right.
others, how come?
right, exactly.
Well,
That's the scary part.
when someone compliments you, how many people say, "You're welcome"? When people thank me for various things I did at Diamond Mountain, I would always say, "That's my job." And one day a student came up to me and thanked me. She said, "David, for God's sake, just say you're welcome."
Right,
And
we do that, right?
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's nothing, oh, we downplay ourselves for some reason, why?
that's the pride issue.
It's because of the pride.
The pride, we're trying to avoid being prideful. Right,
Like ourselves.
yeah,
Very
It
powerful.
is pride,
Yeah.
I was also thinking at some point when I was thinking about that, that if it, well, we don't really feel the joy, and maybe this, well, this is also a ripening of karma, so maybe I was thinking if it has with the 10 virtues something to do with envy and jealousy, that we didn't feel joy for others,
yes,
so we can't feel joy for ourselves in sense of karma ripening.
yes, yes,
The more we rejoice in others, and will help us have joy more for ourselves too.
yes, nice.
If you rejoice in others, you're setting the seeds for them to rejoice, for others to rejoice in you.
Right.
Yes, and that's what I was wondering, all those teachings from Buddhists, they're not, there's a little bit, they're maybe good for Buddhists because they don't have words like shame, or they have other seeds to have this culture there. And our culture is a little bit different, and we need some a little bit of more of in the teaching, in the classes of ACI, a little bit more of those rejoicing coffee meditations and everything else that Lama Sumati in his classes every time they are rejoicing. And I have wonderful story to tell about the rejoicing that if we have time. In one of the classes, one of the students, Svetlana, she shared a beautiful story how she was able to overcome a problem at work by just seeing that this is coming from her seed. And I heard this story in a recording, not in a class. I heard this in a recording, and then something happened to me, that difficult situation, and I was able to remember what she did. I tried to do the same. So it's very, very, what Rajna is saying, if we can just see it in every class, like Lama Sumati is doing, it's gonna be very beneficial, I think.
It's a habit to get into.
That's too much to say.
I don't know, it's fine. The Russian translator is
Gonna
over,
go.
yeah, she's really exhausted. She's
Okay.
like, I need to go.
Thank
It's like
you.
2
Yes,
hours.
it's over. Yes, we understand.
Thank
No
you.
overtime. One more session.
Yay.
So
Can we have a rejoicing session before we go into the
Let's-
silent retreat?
Yeah, let's do it now. Anybody who needs to go to the bathroom, get up and go.
So I will finish class. Can we finish?
Oh, we need to dedicate. Okay, so sorry. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help? We've learned a lot. We've completed the study of a sutra, not the meditation yet, but study. And that's a great goodness. How rare is it to get a teaching on the Heart Sutra? It's coming from you. So be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful, beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. They are dancing with happiness about you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you and inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it, and then carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. Let it fill you so full. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales. Share that goodness with that one person. Share it with everyone you love. Share it with every existing being everywhere, in all realms. See them all filled with the wisdom of loving kindness. And may it be so. Good job, everyone. So, share how to do rejoicing practice with wisdom about, having a topic that you want to see more of and finding something that matches that. Don't you describe that to your students?
Yeah, I do. I'm trying to remember how to do it. When I look at rejoicing as being happy about something, but being happy about it with wisdom. So yes, I can rejoice that I had curry flavored ice cream today. And I rejoice in that. I'm glad most people like it. But rejoicing in that way isn't as powerful as saying, I did something that I thought would make people curious and possibly make people happy. And that's how I get to have a curry ice cream in the future and have people help me get what I need. So you can rejoice just like, I don't want to say ignorantly, you can rejoice in a less powerful way. And that'll water your seeds and they'll ripen faster. Or you can rejoice in a powerful way, which is realizing that what you did. So let's say I need to have people help me find things on the internet for the projects I write books about. So the way for me to get that information that I need is not to just say, oh, I'm so glad I found this information on the internet. It's, I need to rejoice in saying, by my finding this on the internet, the way I need to get more of it is for me to rejoice in helping others get what they need immediately. So if I want something declassified, I need to immediately help somebody on any project they have and dedicate it to my getting what I need in the future.
Right, so he does that. When I have a need, he drops what he's doing, he takes care of it.
And
And then-
excuse me, I do that, and I dedicate it for my getting what I need in the future and her getting what she needs in the future versus going, yes, dear, I'll take out the garbage, thank you.
Right. Right. I'm not sure it's coming across. When we're wanting to affect a change, we can do our rejoicing, finding the seeds that we've already planted, that if those seeds were to ripen, would be the change we're wanting to see. So we're trying to match something that we've already done and the result we're wanting to see in our outside world, and rejoicing in those seeds we already have, that if we can get them to ripen would be this outer result. And, you know, yeah, we can do it for our own needs, and we can do it for bigger needs as well. So it really is different than just saying, as he says, I'm happy I, did this for that person, but rather do it in a more directed way. Like, I'm seeing all this conflict in my world. Where is it that I have seeds of having helped people resolve conflict? Okay, I remember that one time. And so it's like, all right, I'm rejoicing that I helped that one person in that way. I don't have to go through the whole thing. I just have to remember, who it was and what I did. And repeatedly say, okay, I've got those good seeds of having resolved a problem over here in this way. I need those seeds to go out into my world over here. Please, may they ripen.
It's enlightened self-interest. The pride we're talking about is enlightened self-interest.
Yeah.
You're taking pride in something that's going to help you reach your enlightenment and help others reach their enlightenment versus taking pride in just being famous or just making a lot of money.
Yeah. There's a kind of pride that puts oneself first as a result, and there's a kind of pride that's more like confidence that actually puts oneself last as a result.
Yeah.
But it's still a kind of
The 8 worldly
pride.
fears. One of the 8 worldly fears is the pride like a lion, that you're better than everybody else.
Right.
That's one of the 8 worldly fears.
Yeah.
Versus the pride of knowing you know how to help others get what they need.
Right.
And you'll do anything and everything to help others first and you second.
Yeah.
Dead silence.
Like a more resourceful state. It brings the resourceful state inside.
Right.
You find yourself not scarce
Right.
instead of scarcity, you find yourself abundant.
Right.
And then it's easy to share.
It's easy to share. Right. Okay. So class tomorrow still at 8 o'clock?
It's still 8 o'clock.
Still at 8 o'clock. Okay. Right. It'll be the meditation. Question answer. Do you have it right? Do you have it in your head? How to do the meditation? What to do with it when you go home? How to work with it? Ask those kinds of questions. Okay, so may or may not take the whole time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We apologize for the snags. It's all part of it.
Be thankful the snags were reasonable.
We're minimal,
Yeah.
right? Minimal snags.
Nice.
Snags, the interferences, difficulties, delays, problems. Snacks.
She didn't say snack.
Snags.
She said
Snacks, I didn't get
She-
it.
You didn't get any snack? You didn't buy snack.
At least an absence of a snack.
We had enough for dinner.
We did, I still have actually.
Mhm.